Thank you. Thank you, friends. Welcome. Welcome back. I want to invite you, if you feel that you have trouble hearing my voice, to really turn the level up, to put your headphones. I know that I have a voice that my voice kind of frequency is hard to hear for some, including my mother. So I know that. I just so you know, the mic is here, and my sound level is as high as possible. So that was for the tech side. But the outer form matters, just like the form of our body, the shape of our body. As we come to sit, friends, and I want to invite you to take a moment to decide what tnucha, what pause you're going to take for your meditation. And you may be sitting, you may be on a cushion, you may be on a chair, you may be lying. If you have any back problems and if it's supportive for your presence, whichever pause you choose, I want to invite you to really choose a posture in which you can feel both very at ease, right? To not be too ambitious and to try to go into full lotus position that have, the legs fully crossed and the feet behind the hips, but ease, right? Ease and alertness. And I can share with you from my experience, every time I came to a meditation, to a sit, kind of rushed and just, wanting to get started, and I was a bit sloppy, my awareness was kind of sloppy, if that makes sense, And I was just sharing with my students earlier today how much there is something about meditation practice that really starts with the outer form. And just like last week in the Torah, we've seen the full description of the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, of the priest. The outer form matters, actually, in a Jewish perspective. And so the way I sit, and I want to invite you for yourself today to really sit in a way that embodies the way you want to experience this meditation and the way you want to be in life. And so if you close your eyes, we'll start with a sit today, and we'll do the teaching towards the end. I'll explain why in a minute. So I want to invite you to bring your eyes to a gentle close, or to gaze down if closing the eyes really doesn't feel supportive. And to ask yourself, what does this body need right now to embody groundedness, to feel grounded and stable? Do I need to adjust my posture? Do I need to uncross my legs if I'm sitting high on a chair or a sofa? Feet flat on the floor. If I'm sitting on the floor on a cushion, do I need more height so that my hips are higher than my knees and my lower back can be straight without any effort? Are my shoulders relaxed, or do I need to kind of roll them up and back and invite them to open? Invite my chest to open. Allowing the weight of my body to rest a little deeper on the chair, on the floor. Groundedness. And dignity, as I invite my spine to stretch up, all the way from my tailbone through the crown of my head. Maybe the chin slightly tilted down so that the back of my neck can get longer. Checking that I'm sitting in a way that is very balanced in between my left side and my right side. When I find my natural alignment in my body, just like in life, things flow more easily, don't they? And inviting a few breaths, a few deeper breaths of landing, of softening. Maybe with the breath in, getting even taller in stillness. And with the breath out, softening shoulders and belly. With the breath in, becoming refreshed and more awake to this moment. With the breath out, relaxing in this moment. Tnucha in Hebrew, posture, really has in it the root, noach, pleasant. So inviting a softening of all the muscles of my face. And resting in stillness. Yesterday we spoke about the beautiful teaching of the Maharal Miprag in Netzach Israel, who mentioned that goodness, and that anything really is taught often through its opposite. And for better or for worse in human life, and I'm sure we've all experienced that, sometimes it's our very lows that really make our highs shine. When we rise up from a difficult place, we really appreciate more where we are. And he brings this interplay, very, very similar words, galut and geula. Galut, exile. Geula, redemption. And I mentioned yesterday that for the Hasidic master Meor Einaim, a lot of our suffering comes from the fact that we are often, too often, in a state of galut hada'at, exile of awareness. That we live kind of unconscious. And the invitation in this meditation practice, just like yesterday, is to play attention. We're in the month of Adar, so we can be playful and joyful. To play coming back from Galut to Geula, from being unconscious, kind of taken left and right in my trains of thoughts, to, I was thinking about this right now. This memory. I was planning what I'm going to have for lunch, or reflecting on what I ate, or the emails I have to do after, or, remembering this scene with my aunt in the summer of 96. And so on and so forth. All the thoughts, all the trains of thoughts. And the moment I realized where I was, that's already Geula. That's already redemption, awakening. And so we'll play this together in this meditation for a little under 10 minutes of just practicing coming back to presence. Noticing every time my thoughts are taking me away from this body, sitting and breathing. And coming back to this moment with ease and the joy of Geula, redemption from the trance of thoughts and of unconsciousness. Geula, the victory of awareness. Let's play that, friends. Just noticing where I was right now. And rejoicing as I woke up. And simply coming back to this body, sitting, breathing. The seeing when I am in Galut, when I'm in the exile of awareness, is already the redemption. Keeping committing to the stillness, the groundedness, the dignity of my posture. Connecting to your breath moving inside can really, really help being present. And again, I'm not trying not to think. I'm just learning to not drift away my whole being in my thoughts. I'm just learning to let the thoughts be, come up, emerge, and pass without going in exile with them, without leaving my center. I'm practicing coming back to my center, coming back to this body breathing, moment after moment. And for the last minute of this period of our sit, can I offer my full presence? From Geula to Gila, which is one of the words for joy in the Jewish tradition. The joy of simply being. Even if we may not be connected to this right now. But the soul is already enjoying itself, being alive. So friends, let's take a beautiful breath in, a beautiful breath out. And feel free to stay if it's comfortable for you with your eyes closed, kind of hearing this little teaching I'm going to offer right now from within your contemplative state. Or you can look at the source sheet I will share in a moment, but really you don't have to, your choice. We're looking this week at the movements of going down and going up. And again, these seem to be, unfortunately, for better or for worse, natural movements of life and of history. And again, the story of Megillat Esther, the story of Purim, is really, really the Jews going down into a great danger of total annihilation. And Mordechai putting a sack on his head and really ashes and starting to mourn already. And before things turn upside down, we have Ta'anit Esther, we have a fast before the celebration. And here in Parashat Kitisa, as I said yesterday, we have this kind of really descent in the consciousness of Bnei Israel as they go to try to find a quick fix for their fear and insecurity. I'm saying this without judgment, We all have done that. And we probably may all do this again in different ways, right? The temptation of quick fixes, but that really take us even more down. But then there is redemption, there is tshuva, there is forgiveness and recovenanting in this parasha. And in the end, again, repeating, but in the end of the parasha, Moshe is shining, and we have the second set of tablets, which are so much more meaningful because of the descent and the ascent, because of what we've been through. And so this week is very much exploring ways of navigating this. And I said yesterday that on one foot, it's maybe two qualities, two midot qualities, character traits that we're invited to practice. And one is awareness. So that's what we started with this yesterday, and we did it today. Moving from galut hadat, from the exile of awareness, to geula, the kind of redemptive state of becoming aware as the first step. And then a very, very central quality in Jewish wisdom, which is humility. And so today we're going to look at one aspect of this. And also what the lack of humility does. And I'll start with something that is not on our source sheet. Kitisa, Parashat Kitisa, starts with a census, right? Kitisa et rosham bnei Israel. Like when you lift up literally the heads of Bnei Israel, when you count them. And they have to give the half shekel, which is a very small sum. And then the text really says the poor will give no less than the rich, and the rich will give no less than the poor. That there is really total kind of equality. And you may see a deeper message in it, which is, we're all worth the same. And the message here about humility is, as you may have heard before, that it's knowing that we are worth exactly what we're worth, no more, but also no less. There is something about humility that is not undervaluing or underestimating ourselves, but really knowing and stating our kind of exact worth. And I just want to share my screen for a moment, and I'm seeing the time, so I'm going to hurry. Megillat Esther starts with Haman clearly not knowing his exact worth, right? And as he's been seated higher than all the others, right? Speaking of going up and then going down, he starts by being brought up. He's going up, he's elevated. And then what happens is that Mordechai will not bow low to him. Mordechai has the humility of knowing his own worth, no more, but also no less. And so we have here this movement of someone wanting to go up and not bearing anybody going down. And then in the end, we know what happens, right? That Mordechai is going to be in danger for a moment. He's going to go down, but then he's going to go up. And Haman is going to go down all the way after that. And this is a source sheet you will be able to see by yourself because it's been shared here. I'm not going to comment so much more, but just so you know, it's here. This idea of the commandment actually in our parasha of not bowing down before other gods. And that when Bnei Israel were kind of doing the ritual with the golden calf, they were actually getting up. And so sometimes there is meaning here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. There is a whole notion of when is it relevant to bow down? When is it not relevant? And when is it relevant to stay straight, to kind of get up? And when is it less relevant to want to be straight up? And this is the invitation, and I hope you take this with you during the day because we're doing a full week of practice. And so it really is an opportunity for you to practice in between. And the opportunity here is to remember your true value. Right? And humility is not underestimating and not overestimating ourselves and checking in all the time. Where do I need to stand up straight and when do I need to surrender today? So we'll go now into Kaddish, and I apologize, Jenny, for the delay.
No apology necessary. It was so beautiful. Thank you, Mira. So at this time, we turn to Kaddish Yatom. Invite all those who are in mourning, who are observing a yard site, or whose custom it is to rise, to stand now for Kaddish. Feel free to unmute if you are saying Kaddish so we can hear and feel the vibration of your voices. Yitgadal, Yitkash, Rabbah.
Amen. Amen.
Amen ve'amen. So we officially have ended our sit, but again, please feel free to stay with us for another short period in which we can have a conversation with Mira on her beautiful teaching and also our own experience of practice. So feel free to put questions or comments in the chat. Specifically, if you have a question, you might want to write question in all caps, and I'll keep my eye on the chat. And I'll just begin, Mira. I'm so touched because this has been very true in my own experience. The way that you began the sit in inviting us to really tune in to the tenucha, the pose, the posture, and to allow that to be the first place of building and collecting awareness, and to trust, to know whether this is a moment in which we need to, as you close the sit, to rise up, or perhaps to settle in to our earthiness and to come into our artsiyut, and again to work and practice trusting that we know how much space to take up. And so I'm curious if you have other specific ways. I mean, you kind of led us through with a body scan as a way of beginning to tune into our experience. Perhaps if there are other things that you use in your practice to help plug in to that kind of knowing and that trusting of our own experience.
Yeah. I think really remembering, we are in this parashiot of building the Mishkan, right? And there are so many commentaries on this that really today, and especially today that we don't have a Mishkan, but even if we did, that there is something about this body made in the divine image that is a Mishkan. And a Mishkan really from Lishkon, to reside, to rest. So it is a resting place for the divine presence. And there is a tool I use really, and that's very much at the heart of Jewish spirituality, the breath that keeps coming, yeah? In the Torah narrative, it's called the Nishmat Chaim, the breath of life. And the fact that it's a constant movement is not a coincidence, right? It's a way of remembering, of kind of bringing us alive again, both physically, but also making the awareness alive again, awaking the awareness over and over and over again. And so I think it's a great tool for presence to connect to the breath in a way that is also very meaningful, very, very meaningful. There is a tool also that helps some people is to use words, a bit like mantra. And so, for instance, to say on the in-breath, receiving, because we receive, and on the out-breath, releasing, which is also just such a beautiful spiritual practice in and of itself, like remembering that I can't receive if I hold on and I never let go, right? And that I need to let go also so that this body can stay healthy. I need to let go, which my body, when it's healthy, does naturally, right? It let goes of things every day, and then it needs water, it needs oxygen, it needs food. And speaking of humility, this is really kind of living in total interconnection with the world. I need air, I need water, I need food, I need the trees, I need plants, and then I need the breath of life, I need the divine, and it's very real.
I love that way of connecting, as you referred to at the beginning of the practice, of connecting our outer experience and the physical experience of the body, which is kind of guiding us to something that's also happening on the inside, the need to receive and also to release. And our breath is sort of teaching us in real time about that practice. I see here chat a question from Ruth. You mentioned seeing when in galut or exile is already redemption, Geula. You share a bit more about what is redemption, from what, towards what? Awareness. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Ruth. First of all, it's good to see you here. It's really so Geula, redemption can take many layers of meaning according to the context, like many concepts in the Jewish tradition, right? It can be one of the meaning is really returning from exile, right? That's a question of kind of historical, social, cultural diaspora. But on a spiritual level, really, that's what the Maharal of Prague was teaching in the text that we saw yesterday. It's really from Galut to Geula when we read it in terms of awareness. So Galut is just being alienated, being unconscious, not being present. And Geula here would be presence, just that, being present, being aware, being conscious. And it's very much the first step of every spiritual practice. And when I was saying that seeing is already Geula, it's something that you may have experienced. Maybe for those of you who've been in therapy also, that happens a lot, right? That when we see a pattern, sometimes there is something that gets kind of untied. There is something that gets solved when it's being seen. And that's the power of seeing. And I'm not talking about the physical eyes here.
You're just making me think, Mira, and there's something about hearing in the pleasantness of your voice also, that this line between galut and geula, of exile and redemption, is such a thin line, really. And there's sort of an ease that we can practice. Falling out of awareness, coming back home, falling out of awareness, coming back home. That I think is so translatable as we move out into our lives, off our cushions, off our chairs. That shift of coming out of presence and into presence doesn't have to be so difficult.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're saying this because I think sometimes we make such a huge thing of it, right? Galut, Geula, like, and it has to be painful and it has to be, and the story of Purim is not easy. It's not an easy one, right? But there is another level of reality also, is that it can be just like that, as just as you said, and it's an invitation. And more I'm moving towards this in the way I meditate and I facilitate this for people is exactly as you said. It can be easier than we think because it's kind of two sides of the same coin usually, right? Oh, and just inviting the what if it was easier? Right? What if a revolution actually, an inner, what if it was easier? And what if it could be playful? And that's why today I was kind of, and yesterday also, and that's in honor of the month of Adar, because playfulness is really one of the tools for joy that we have. And friends, we lose it when we grow up. We lose playfulness. How sad. So I have a dog. I look at my dog and it's like just so, and I love playing with him. And if you have children or and you name it in your own life, different ways that you play. And friends, if you don't play. This is also my invitation for this week. And also do your meditation practice in a playful way, in a pleasant way. And sometimes I feel like we're so deadly serious about it, And that's why also I was trying to say that when we set up the posture, yes, it's very helpful to sit straight and to hold ourselves, and that actually requires some muscle work from the lower back and the belly. But if we start to be all stiff and rigid about it, it's deadly. It's deadly serious. And so to be playful about coming back, and pleasure and playfulness. Kabbalistic teachers talk a lot about this, and I think it's important also that we reconnect with this. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the idea of paying attention. That's so helpful. Mira, I'm also thinking about the fact that you are in Israel now. So many of us are joining you from North America. And when I heard you say the word gila, joy, I'm thinking about how you practice joy and play in a collective moment in which we feel like we're still so much in a moment of Yerida. And the tables haven't yet turned, in a sense.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're not sure when they will. And so how do we hold on loosely to that quality of Gila that is still our birthright as human beings, even in a difficult moment?
Thank you. Your question is so important. And then I'm reading another important question. I hope we'll have time to get to that. Look, I think if we were waiting for the world to be perfect or easy or good or to feel Gila, we would wait our lives. And in the life of the Jewish people, at each generation, unfortunately, there have been tragedies, right? Like real heavy tragedies. And I think it's part of what Hasidic wisdom has been teaching us. Hasidic wisdom, serving God through joy. It was a revolution. That was the revolution of the Baal Shem Tov. I'm talking modern Hasidut at a time that was maybe one of the biggest times of distress for Jews at that time. And it was a choice to say, in a way, it's what we call today manifestation. I'm going to change my reality because I decide. I'm not going to wait. So, to go straight to the point, we live in a reality that feels surreal since October 7th, because there is no distance. It's a few kilometers, from here. My stepbrothers are in the army. Like, we know people who are dead. We know people who are taking hostages. Like, we live with, we live with a heart broken. That is, and at the same time, right? Reality is multi-layered. Our experiences are multi-layered. And I'm sure many of you experienced this. And I'm not even talking about the war. That on the one hand, there's a lot of joy and happiness, and then there is this aspect of your life that is broken. And you have to hold both because you don't have a choice. But happiness is a choice. And actually what you said, I'll be honest, I am forcing myself
Mhm.
to nurture joy in the month of Adar, in the hope of manifesting a Geula. I am so grateful we have 2 months of Adar this year. I am so grateful because it feels like, yes, let's prepare, let's reinforce, let's pray, let's dare believing in turning upside down of things. And the Chatufim, for me, it's the main, war is war. So many aspects, but the hostages, I want to believe that this kind of miracle, this kind of turning upside down is possible. So it's very much a choice. It's a choice that doesn't deny the reality. It's a choice that is holding these multiple truths at the same time. And I'll just say to Ricky's question, very, very orthodoxy doesn't have the monopoly of truth. And just like in any religion in the world, there are always going to be people who are going to say we are, we represent the truth, we are the fundamentalists, or the. I'm saying this. I'm from a so-called modern Orthodox background. I hate these terms, but so don't believe what humans do of our tradition. Believe what our traditions say. Choose your teachers. People being more extreme and becoming exclusivist and ethnocentrist and all closing the reality and making it doesn't mean that they're right, and it doesn't mean that they represent the heart of Judaism. I'll stop here.
Mira, thank you so much. Thank you for reminding us that we are also, B'nai Chorin, we are free people, and we are free in each moment to choose. And hopefully, in experiences like this, where we gather our energy and our awareness together to create more possibility that that joy, that Gila will help turn the tables. It's very strengthening. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.